Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you. How are you all doing? So last night I was working on... I worked on the game a little bit later in the evening after the stream was over. And I did redo a lot of the icons. And by a lot of the icons, I mean I redid every icon. But I'll get into why I did that. They're still basically the same. It's just I needed to change some things. But this is in preparation for some work that I've wanted to do for a while, which is to add unique icons for basically all the different status effects and whatnot. So yeah, we're just gonna figure out what to do about this. And anyway, that's gonna be sort of the agenda for today, is gonna be getting those icons squared away. So anyway, before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto-battler where you can create your own builds and synergies using the alchemy system. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check it out. You can also support the game on Patreon. Subscribing for at least 1 month at this top tier, for example, will give you an Alchemortis Steam key. So I'll send you a Steam key when the game launches, so you don't need to buy it on Steam. And your name will be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits, and while you're subscribed, you get unlimited access to all my course content. So that's a great way to help me out. You can also purchase the courses individually if you prefer. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. You can also join the Discord, subscribe on YouTube, like the video, follow on Twitch, all of that good stuff. And yeah, we are multi-streaming to Twitch at the same time, so if you're watching this YouTube VOD, and you'd rather watch the Twitch stream, you could definitely go over to twitch.tv/firebelly. All right. Hello, Chris. You're already here. Welcome. Hello, the Malicious Rabbit. Good morning to you as well. Okay. So what is the reason? So the reason I redid out all of these icons is because basically, I need the icons to be no more than 9 pixels tall, because that's how tall the font is that I'm using. And so if I want the icons to display nicely in line, they need to be 9 pixels. Now, before, I had this weird situation going where some of the art was very large, such that the outlines were going outside of the boundary. And so I had this weird thing where I had icons, like I had versions of icons with no outlines, and then I had the versions of icons with outlines, and that was just a mess. Plus, a lot of the icons didn't look that great either. So I did redo everything to a certain extent. So the damage icon is largely the same, it's just a little bit shortened up. Fire icon is a little bit different, but it still looks like fire, I think. Necrosis icon changed quite a bit. I still don't know if that's clear enough. You can kind of tell that it's supposed to be a bug of some kind if you're zoomed out, but if you're like this, it's like kind of hard to tell what that's supposed to be. But if you look at the little preview here, you can kind of tell that that's supposed to be a bug. I'll probably redo that one again, but then we've got the poison. It's just big old poison drop, big old poison looking drop, I guess you could say. And then there's the shielding. This looks much more like a shield, I think. So that's good. And then the healing, this turned from a big cross into just multiple smaller crosses there. I think that just generally looks nicer. And then the bleed is largely the same. I just changed up the colors and removed one of the blood drops. So it's just this background blood drop and this foreground blood drop. And so yeah, I'm hoping that those are a little bit nicer. And now they're nice and standardized too, where I don't have two versions of every icon. And they all look nice in line because they're all the same height as the font and all that good stuff. Hello, Real Crudo, welcome back. Still very jealous of how your mind works with art and stuff where you can't share some of that brain knowledge. Well, thank you. I mean, it's, you know, it's just practice. That's all it is. Just practice and lots of struggling. So here's what it looks like in game. So these are all the new icons. Poison, bleed, fire, preserve, and damage, as well as the heal, and yeah. And then also, I posted in the Discord yesterday, but there are new ability icons now, so you can see that the abilities, so there's kind of like a unified language now. So the empty ability slot has this empty ability icon here, but then when the ability slot is filled, it just gains a little interior thing. So it almost looks like a radio input, which is what they're called, these little radio buttons, on web at least. So it almost looks like that. So I think that's very cohesive because then you still have that language of like this outline, this border or rim or whatever represents an ability slot, and then the interior, whether that interior is present or not, represents if it's filled. So I think that looks nice. I'm gonna miss the little swirl icon that we had before, but again, maybe I can reintroduce that for some different purpose. But I think this is just visually a lot clearer what's going on with the abilities here. And then if I go ahead and add item gemstone, put the gemstone here, that will add, oh, did I do it wrong? Oops, don't tell me I broke something. Did I not set this up correctly? Oh, it's not working. I wonder if my save file is out of date. Let me just check something really quick. Aberration. Ability slot 7. Oh, is my gemstone not working anymore? Did I forget to test that last night when I was redoing that? Hello, Nathan San. Welcome back. Good to see you. Maybe when we get human uplink, we can somehow transport some of it over USB-C or something. I hope you're well too, sir. I am. Thank you. Material UI. No. Is the debug console made by you? Yes. Hello, Victor. Welcome back. Yes, it is. It's very simple. It's nothing sophisticated at all. But basically, I can press backtick, the backtick key when I'm in a debug build or when I have the cheats flag enabled. And then I've got a list of commands here, so I can do list items, and that will just list out all the items for me. Yeah, those are all custom commands. I'm not using a framework or anything for that. But this greatly improves debug speed for sure. Okay, now that's working. Let me close the game and reopen it and make sure. Let's do another gemstone. Let's see if this adds another ability slot. It doesn't. Okay, something's not being saved properly. Let's fix that before we go into the icon stuff, because that's going to bother me. Okay, total ability slots. Ability slots. From save model ability slots is equal to card save model dot ability slots. Why is that not working? Let me look at my alchemy manager. Reagent added ability slots. Set ability slots. Base card add ability slots plus output data. Added ability slot count. Yeah, why is that not working? Why is that not working? I'm actually kind of baffled. Let's go ahead and put a breakpoint there, and we'll delete my saves. Delete. Okay. And it deleted my base card for some reason. What is going on with Godot recently? Don't delete my base card script. I need that. I need that. Okay, anyway, let's go and launch it. Oops, base card. Where's my breakpoint at? Okay. Add item. Aberration. So that should be 6. That's correct. Add item gemstone. That should be 1. Okay. Alrighty then. So let's do this, and let's do that. So I should see 7. There's 7 there. Okay, so now let me check my save file and make sure that that has 7 ability slots. Ability slot 7. Well, let me do the gemstone again. I wonder, maybe it's a problem with the duplicate. It might be a problem with the duplicate here. 1 second. Oh, you know what? Maybe there is an issue in my alchemy manager. Let me look at this again. Oh, right. It's creating a brand new instance of the card, so it's not carrying over the ability slots. This needs to be input card dot ability slots. There we go. Sneaky, sneaky. Okay. We figured it out. We figured it out. I'm so good at programming that I'm not even going to test that. Just kidding. Let's go test it. Game I'm making finally added debug menu so I can test all the UI interactions. Yeah. Yeah, there comes a certain point in the game where, or a game that you're working on where, yeah, adding debug tools is going to be very, very crucial to improving your speed of iteration. There we go, that's working now. Fix ability slots not carried over in alchemy. Okay, that should work. I think I might need console 2 for debugging, yeah. It's pretty simple to pretty simple to set up, pretty straightforward to set up. I just have this cheat helper here, and it's really simple. I just have like a text input, and when I press enter, it just splits the string based on the spaces, and then it just does a string comparison, or it has a dictionary. So if the first part of the string is add blood, then it just assumes the second part of the string is a number that it can parse, and then it adds that much blood, you know? And then I just put whatever functionality I need inside of this. So all of my commands are just like, the functionality for the commands is just defined in here as a lambda. And, you know, I already had a lot of the methods available for me to change my game state, so I didn't really need to do a whole lot of changes. There are some things that I needed to add explicitly, like this cheat set enemy strength. So I called this cheat as a prefix, just as an indicator to me, like, this is not supposed to be called. Like, if this was just called set enemy strength, I may have assumed that I could call that whenever I want during the normal course of the game, but this is just for cheats. So I just say, well, it's cheat enemy strength. Then I have this additional guard here to make sure that cheats are enabled. Just, you know, just covering all my bases. So there were situations where I needed to add methods explicitly for enabling some cheat functionality, but for the most part, all this stuff is already functionality that I have. So yeah. Good morning, Ninja Link. Welcome. Hello, Nano. Welcome back. Good to see you both. Ariane, welcome back. Good to see you as well. Cake Hug. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Give a thumbs up to the stream. Yes, please do. Good morning, Emerson. Welcome. No Twitch stream today? Oh, shoot. Oops. I forgot to start the Twitch stream. My goodness. And how is the scene for Cheat Helper? I can't believe I forgot to start the cheat stream. Dang it. All right, let's restart. Let's redo everything that I've done. Anyway, we're on Twitch now, so there we go. There we go. Thank you for letting me know. There we go. All right, we're here. We're here. So I guess the YouTube stream is going to be what? There was already like 15 minutes of work done on the YouTube stream before Twitch, but that's okay. The Cheat Helper scene is pretty straightforward. It's just a line edit, and then this is like the output window, and then I just have a label with all the commands here. And then this just gets popped up when a key is pressed, so on and so forth. Good morning for real now. And here I was dogging on the Twitch chat notification system, yeah. Hello, Snupbill. Welcome back to the stream. Thank you for the IDR 10,000. That's very much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. With the message yummers. Thank you, appreciate that. Yummers. Okay, so let's go back to what the original goal was, which is that we want to create icons for paralyze, for hex, for exhaust, and for blind. Well, hopefully blind is going to be an easy one. I actually want to change how these are laid out. I might just more tightly pack these. Okay. All right, so we need a blind. Where is my debuff? Oh, this is my status. I should probably reorganize this. I need to clean up a lot of this stuff. Let's get rid of UI border, view owners. Am I using this still? Grid indicator. So I'm just going to do some cleanup here. View owners. Okay, we can get rid of grid indicator, I think. Oh, no, I can't. Query cell texture. Is this used anywhere? Query cell texture. It's not. I can get rid of that. Yeah, I can get rid of that. Delete this. I said delete that. What in the heck? Just trying to clean up all my icons here. Okay, we can delete that now. Cool. Is this used anywhere? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. These are not necessary anymore. Delete this. Okay. All right. So just cleaning up that stuff. Anyway, thanks for all the help, man. You're welcome. You're welcome. Happy to help whenever I can, at least. All right. So anyway, back to this. We need a blind icon. Is it possible to do... Is it possible to do some kind of an eyeball here? That is going to be the question. This is not centered. Well, that doesn't look much like an eyeball anymore. Okay, maybe that's not going to work. What should we do for a blind icon? Hello, Vinge. Having a good day? I am. How about you? You having a good day? What are we going to do for a blind icon? I mean, I do have like this general debuff icon, which is just like a little skull. So this skull is like paralysis now. That's a debuff, but yeah, I probably should do something different there. Maybe eye patch would fit. Yeah, maybe. If I just did a bigger eyeball. Yeah, I'm good. Just attach thrusters and plates all over the top of them on my skyship and Blender. Nice. An eye with an X is pretty standard and easy to understand. Yeah, I know that, but the problem is if I do an X through this, then it loses the fact that it's an eyeball. Because I need to separate that line like that. And then it's like, how do I actually communicate that this is an eyeball now? I mean, maybe something like that works. But see, if I were to do an X now and do that same thing, now it doesn't look like an eyeball, right? So like the X, because this is a 9x9 drawing area, the X is basically going to obscure any detail that I could add, indicating that this is an eye. Maybe it could be an eye, but a spark in the center instead of a pupil. Yeah, I don't think an X is gonna work. I don't think that X is gonna work. Because the X, like, there's no room to draw anything once I've outlined the X to separate it from the art. There's like no room to draw anything behind it. And it's actually not a 9x9 area that I have. It's an 8x8 area. The outer, or no, it's a 7x7 area. The outer ring here is reserved for the outline. So with the outline included, every icon needs to be 9x9, which means that the safe area is 7x7. So that's just what's making it a little bit hard. I mean, we could potentially do something like this, though. I think maybe just an eyeball. Maybe an eyeball would just work. I mean, it's like a wide open eyeball, but maybe that doesn't make sense. Eye patch, I think that's the same problem. It's like, how do I indicate an eye patch in a 7x7 area? A little bit tricky. Maybe I'll just stick with the eyeball. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at least the eyeball means vision, right? So we'll just go with that for now. I'll rework that later. But we need one for paralysis now. I'm thinking this one, I think what I might do is I might just do like a lightning bolt or something. Some kind of zappy looking thing. Maybe not. Oh goodness, this is quite a challenge. Let me think. So I can do... maybe something like that works. Hmm. Okay, maybe that's better. Well, it'll work. Okay, what else do we need to do? What else do we need to do? Hex. Oh, it's confused now. Okay. I guess confused would be this, would just be like a question mark, right? Make it a little bit stylistic. Maybe thicken it up as well. That's kind of cool. Kind of like it being like an angled question mark like that. I don't know. I think it'll be fine. I actually think that turned out pretty good. Like a little stylistic question mark. Okay, all right. Exhaust now. Hello, Wooius, welcome back. What are we gonna do for exhaust? What are we gonna do for exhaust? Let's see. I'm just realizing that this is probably not going to be cropped correctly, although that doesn't matter. It just needs to be 9 pixels tall. It doesn't matter how wide it is. So that should be all right. Exhaust. Well, this isn't working. Well, that's not going to work. I was trying to make a hand, like a hand reaching out. But I guess that's not going to work. Okay, that's not going to work. For the blind icon, maybe you could make the eyeball look like it's been plucked out. Yeah, that could work. Welcome, Peter, by the way. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. What are we going to do for exhaust? What are we going to do for exhaust? I mean, would it be proper to use that skull icon I have for exhaust? Maybe? Oh yeah, like the sleeping ZZZ. Maybe. Problem is I don't have a whole lot of room to do this either. But we can make it work, maybe. Shoot. I don't think I can go any smaller. That's like the smallest Z I can do. Maybe this would work. That kind of works, I guess. Maybe that works. Empty monster energy can, yeah. A deflated balloon. If you remove the serifs, you could go 3 by 3. I don't think there are serifs on this, but I think I know what you're saying. Three by 3? Are you sure? I guess I'm not seeing how I would possibly do that. Yeah, I don't see a way to make that work. Yeah, I just don't see how a 3 by 3 is supposed to work. Take the capital I looking one and remove the top right and bottom left. Capital I looking one, top right and bottom left. Oh, yeah, that doesn't look like a Z though. Maybe it kind of does. I guess the other option is to... what? I could just use this debuff icon, this skull for exhaust, maybe. So which do you guys like better? Do you want these couple of Z's here for exhaust, or the skull for exhaust? Any opinions? I like the Z's. Okay. Anyone else? Emerson likes the Z's as well. Okay, we could do that then. Okay, cool. All right. Now let's export all these layers. I don't get the correlation between the skull and exhaust, so the Z's. Sounds good. Welcome, Jhar, by the way. IDK. Hello, Genesis.com. Welcome. Okay, so now we have a couple of new ones, right? We've got confuse, exhaust, and paralysis. So let's get those in. Private const string icon confuse UID. Private const string icon exhaust UID. Const string icon UID. Okay. So now we have confuse. Exhaust. And paralysis. Okay, so paralysis, paralyzed, that's at icon paralysis, icon exhaust, and then confuse here. So there is a separate change that I need to make, but we'll figure that out. Instead of black bar, for people, try to make it an X. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work either. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that will work with the current art anyway. Okay, so we've got paralysis there. What else? We have exhaust, so let's add item. Add item Phoenix. Becomes exhausted. That looks good. And then confuse, add item. I think hag does confuse. Confuse one random enemy item that deals damage. Yeah, that'll work. I don't like how these icons are being split from that. I wonder if I can fix that. Let me think. Can I fix that? Well, anyway, we should probably commit this. And then I also need to change one other thing. So we've got all these. Oh, I didn't do blind. I forgot the blind. Copy UID. Private const string icon blind UID. Got the blind. What do I have that does blind? The idle does. Doesn't look as good as I imagined though, yeah. Looks cool AF. Thank you, Genesis.com. Maybe just remove the pupil. Yeah, we could try that. TK, welcome back, TK. You did this art? Yes, all the art is done by me, by hand. 1 pixel at a time, except in the cases where, of course, I'm using the symmetry options in Asprite. Then it's like half of the pixels at a time, you know what I mean? But okay, so we've got blind now. That's good. Okay. I don't think I was here when you changed the cards to items. Why did you choose to do that? The reason why cards are now called items is because card implies that you have a deck that you're playing with, whereas items implies more of like inventory management. It was just a small thing, but I think that that's going to make the game. So the ultimate reason is for the marketing purposes. I was afraid that using the card language was going to give people the wrong impression about what kind of game it is. So if I'm just using items like on the Steam page and say like, arrange your items, right? That sells the idea a lot more clearly than like arrange your cards on the board, right? So it was ultimately just for clarity, mostly for clarity of marketing, because I don't want to give people the impression that like this is a collectible card game with a deck that you play. I want people to understand what the game is from the marketing language immediately. So yeah. Or use a light blue color instead. What type of game is it? It's a roguelite auto battler where the core mechanic is this alchemy system. So I have two cards here, for example, this Hag and the Phoenix. The Hag has this blind ability, the Phoenix has this heal and fire ability. But what I can do is I can merge these together and I can get abilities on either card. So you can see that this Hag has actually inherited all of the Phoenix abilities here, and the Phoenix got the Hag's abilities. So the idea behind the game is that each item has its own abilities that it has by default, but you can use the alchemy to like put abilities from one card onto one item onto a different item, so on and so forth. So, and then of course, like the whole point is that you use your board layout here to place your items on the board. And then there will be different like synergy bonuses, like some cards like this one will apply additional poison if there's an adjacent item that also applies poison, right? So it becomes like a board item placement, min-maxing kind of game with the additional thing of you can get abilities that you need onto cards that fit into your board and fit into your build. So that's the core of the idea. And then the sort of gameplay loop is that you navigate this overworld map and you visit these nodes. And a lot of these nodes are upgrade nodes, like the booster will give you new items, the enchant will let you put an enchantment on an item, the artifact will give you an artifact which gives you like a passive ability for the run. And then there are combat encounters that you have to fight through. And ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to defeat the 3 map bosses. And once you do that, you win the run. The map sort of like gameplay is something that's still kind of in progress. I've been doing a bunch of changes to it recently, but that's the core idea. So that's the game loop. You navigate the map, you get a bunch of items, you upgrade your items, you use alchemy on your items, and then you test that out against the combat encounters, and you try to win. This is my wet dream come true. Awesome. Well, you can wishlist it now. It's on Steam. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I hope you like it. I've been doing regular playtests too, or semi-regular playtests, so you can actually try the game when there's a playtest available. You'll want to follow on Discord and all the other social media channels to be notified when that goes live. But yeah, it's on Steam. You can give it a wish list. The Steam page is going to be overhauled in the near future. It's a little bit outdated right now. And by a little bit outdated, I mean a lot outdated. But yeah, the game will be releasing this year at some point. So yeah, it'll be out soon-ish. Soon-ish. Let's see. Hello, Eto. Quick question, how do you add checkboxes on Kanban on Obsidian? It's the same markdown rules for adding checkboxes. So it's just, you do like a bullet point and then open square brackets, space, and then close square brackets, and that creates your checkbox. It's all markdown stuff. Okay, so what was I doing? I need to... So I think this is done. There's one thing that I want to do, prevent icons and words from being broken up. On separate lines in what? In item descriptions. So this, I may need to do something interesting, but I want to test this first. So, okay, we'll get into that in a second. What are we doing now? We're just updating icons in the game, streamlining the icons, adding icons for things that don't have icons. Just some small quality of life stuff. I just kind of like started this on a whim last night, so I kind of want to finish it before I move on to something else. But we're almost done with it, and then what else do I want to do? Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll work on these couple of things. So I need to finish these 2 cards here to get that actually finished. So I'll be right back in 3 minutes and we'll continue on. Okay, I'm back. So we want to prevent icons and words from being broken up on separate lines. So I want to try something first. Oh, I don't even know where this code is. It's in here somewhere. Am I using this icon only anywhere? I actually don't know if that's ever being... Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to delete these things. And then we're going to build and we're going to see what that does. Build. If that presents no build errors, then we're going to... Oh. Use short description. This is never used. We'll just clean up some things, might as well. Oh, I do need the exclude icon. All right. We'll just put that back for now. Let's just fix the problem at hand here. So this is creating a space in here. Let's get rid of that. Let's see if that will cause the icons to wrap still. Now I am probably going to need to bake in some kind of space into the icons themselves. Because I think what happens is, if I do add item hag. So the reason why the icons were being split on separate lines from the text is because there was a space in between them. And so the word wrap was saying, oh, there's a space there, we can wrap the word. So in order for these icons to be paired with the keywords all the time, there needs to be no space. But for visual purposes, I need a space. So I think the thing to do here is to bake a space into the icon in some way. The problem though is that these icons are used in different contexts as well. Ain't that the kicker? Ain't that the kicker? What am I gonna do about this? I could do something hacky, like I could have like an empty PNG that I use as an image here. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I don't think I can bake the space into the icons directly because they are used in different contexts, and I don't want to have to deal with the spacing issues that extra transparent space on the icon itself would create. So I need to figure out a way of keeping these together as one word without allowing the word wrapping to break them up. Hello, Budget Jim. Ooh. Excuse me. Welcome back. Good to see you. Vinge, got to get back from the past, Samurai Jack. I don't know what that means. Could you bake a space before the letters? That's what I'm wondering. Like, is there some kind of like character I can use that doesn't count as a space? Let me look at the documentation really quick. Let's look at just BB code here. Text strike through code makes use the monofont of rich text label. Adds a new paragraph tag, adds a line break. Hint is interesting. Font size. Use different font size and color for text while making the tag's content span multiple lines if it's large enough. A drop cap is typically one uppercase character. Drop cap. Oh, interesting. Color, BG color, foreground color. Unordered list. You know what? Let me think about this. No, that's not gonna work. As much as I hate to say it, yeah, I mean, don't mind me, I'm just procrastinating. Gotcha. Hello, Sacrificial, welcome back. Could you use an underscore and then in the text pack set the color of the underscore to black? Yeah, I was thinking about doing something like that where I just use like an empty, like I just use a character but make it invisible by changing the... Actually, I could break my alpha rule just for this case because it's not going to display anything. I wonder if I could just put a character there and then just make it fully transparent. Like an underscore and then fully transparent, and that would give me the space, but it would not render in any situation. Like changing it to black only works if the background is black, which I think is the case for the most part. But if there is ever a situation where I need a rich text label that could render on top of something that's not a pure black background, then that underscore would be visible if it was just black. But I might be able to just change the color. A non-breaking white space character. That is another option. Is there like examples of that? Non-breaking white space character. The primary non-breaking space character is U plus AA0, no break space. No break space. Does that work? Or maybe C sharp. Maybe I can just do it in C sharp. Convert from Can I do a non-break space C#? Char 160. Zero zero A0. Yeah, that works. So then in here, does that work? Let's see. Use dark mode in your browser, brother. I don't think dark mode looks that great on a lot of websites. I use dark mode on the websites where it looks good. If it doesn't look good, then I don't use it. Very true, yeah. So it's very, I like my YouTube is in dark mode because it seems fine. I mean, that was also an in private window. So on any of my dark mode settings won't be there anyway. But I think YouTube is like the only one I use dark mode on. And my IDE, of course. So did that work? I think that did work. Now the question is that space a little bit too big? But I can put back my font size hack. Maybe. I had a font size hack here. So if I do font size, this is how I was controlling the size of the space. Font size 4/font size. Maybe that will do it. Guess my eyes are cooked anyway, whether I use dark mode or not. Thinks he's the warrior of light. It's all good. I like dark mode when it looks good. Let's change this to 6. The non-breaking space was a good idea. I can't believe I didn't know to use that. How do you go back with Git? Well, there's a lot of ways. I mean, it depends on what you mean by go back. You can, ooh, that looks good. And it doesn't look like it's breaking anymore. So there's a number of ways you can go back. I mean, you could check out commits. Like you can just go to the commit and check out that commit hash and go right onto that detached head there. You can check out files from previous commits. So if you want to restore a file from a previous commit, there's a way to just like grab the version of that file at that commit and just put it into your current staged files. You can just go to the history and copy paste. I mean, that's literally what I did here, right? Like these are my changes. They're not committed yet, but I can see the diff view here and I can just go in and copy and paste the things that I want to restore. There's a lot of ways. I mean, it's just like, you know, Git is just a running history of your project. And so if your commits are granular enough, you can basically go back at any point and restore a file. You can also do file history. So like if I do open file history here, that will give me a whole list of all the commits where the file has changed. So this is a nice way of like pruning it down so I don't have to go through all the commits. I could just see like, oh, the last time this file was changed, well, I guess this was pretty recently, 2 weeks ago. So the last time this file was changed was 2 weeks ago, and I've done dozens of commits since 2 weeks ago, but if I just need to know the versions of this file, I can just toggle the file history for that. There's a lot of ways to do it. Can a char be const? Oh, it can. Look at that. Very nice. Perfect, that works great. So yeah, the non-breaking space prevents the word wrap from happening and also gives me that space that I need. No hacks necessary. And I can change the font size of it too, so I can control the spacing between the icon and the keyword. Because I don't want the space between the icon and the keyword to be equal to a space between words. Like they should be a little bit closer together. And actually I might even turn this down a little bit. For example, VS Code, how do you do that? As well as that, I don't restore last commit. I don't know exactly how to do that in VS Code. I think you can just go to the git lens or whatever, or what is it? Source control. I don't know how you would do it through the, like you could, I don't know how you do it through the UI. Very nice, yeah. Now let's see Paul Allen's card. I saw a little skit that was done. It was kind of funny. It was that scene. It was something called like, what if American Psycho was wet or something? And it was these guys acting out that scene, but there was just water pouring on them the whole time. And so it was really funny because like all the business cards were like soaked and like tearing, and they were spitting out water from, and their just hair was drenched. It was freaking hilarious. Definitely recommend checking that out. I would laughed so hard. Branches are great for experimentation too. Can try out a couple of ways of doing the same thing and then merge the one you want to keep. Yeah. So whenever I'm doing like a big change, like that ability change that I just made, I always spin off a branch for that. So that way I can easily go back. Like if I decide that approach isn't working, I can just leave the branch as is and go back to master. But it also prevents like partial major changes from being merged to master. Cause like my opinion is that when you run the game from your main or your master branch, it should be basically functional, right? You shouldn't commit any compile errors where the game just doesn't build. Like my goal is like every commit to master should be a version of the game that is at least playable to some extent. That doesn't mean there won't be bugs. That doesn't mean there won't be unimplemented features, but it means that it should build and run, right? And there shouldn't be any like features that are like halfway done to the extent where they're making the game unplayable. So I usually spin off branches where I'm doing like, where I know a piece of work is going to require multiple commits to get the game back into a good playable state. And then I'll merge those all back in when I'm done. Because there's nothing more annoying than like, oh, I want to see what a version of my project looked like from 5 months ago. And you go to that commit and you find out there's a build error. And now it's like, well, now I got to find a different commit, you know? You don't want that to happen, I don't think. Unicode is a charm. So strange, yeah. So I think this is looking good. I like these. I like that solution a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Jack, for the non-breaking space suggestion. And now all those icons will remain together, which is like something kind of minor, but I think it is really important. Because it looks weird for an icon to be at the end of the line and then the keyword is highlighted on the next line. It just looked weird. Cool. Alrighty, I'm happy about that. Okay, awesome. So we'll commit that. Have you tried burning the project to the ground and starting over? I have not done that. I've done the exact opposite. I have so many redundancies of this project. Like, obviously I've got the local copy on my computer. I have the copy that is on GitHub. And of course, GitHub has its own redundancy as well. And then I also have a nightly script that runs that clones all of my Git repositories and then uploads them to a private S3 bucket. So yeah, I've got like dozens of copies of this project just like floating around because I'm paranoid. Like if I lost this project for any reason, get banned from GitHub or whatever. Not that I'm doing anything ban worthy, but you know, it's like it's a private company. You never know when an automated system is just going to kick you off the platform or whatever. So yeah, I've done the exact opposite. I have so many copies of it that I think a nuclear war could happen and I'd still be able to recover a copy of the game. Hello, the Mad Dog Project. I'm doing well. How are you doing? Okay, so there's one other thing I want to do. Update icons for when blind, exhaust, paralyzed, confused is applied to an item. So right now, if I exhaust, like if I go, let me think about this. Let me put some debug settings in place really quick. Project settings, debug, generate test map, training dummy, we'll ignore the save file. And then I'll go ahead and add that Phoenix. If I could spell. So I want to see what happens when exhausted takes place. So there's just a general like debuff icon here. So that will go twice. Okay. So you see how this just has that exhausted debuff icon? I want to use the icon that corresponds to the exhausted there. How that's going to work, I actually don't know. So this should use the exhausted icon here. So I have a way of excluding the icon from this, and then the bullet point here actually should become the exhausted icon. So how is that going to work? So icon type debuff. I do want to get rid of this short description, I think. So I wonder, maybe I'll just make... get icon UID for keyword. Let's do color, keyword color, string icon UID. I don't think I'm using icon only anywhere. I think I can get rid of this. That was for the short descriptions that I was experimenting with a while ago, but I don't think I need those anymore. Okay, so get icon UID for keyword. So now what I'm going to want to do is for my card buff, I'm going to want to make this public abstract string icon UID get, and then I will need to override that. Public override string. Oh, did I make that? No, that's right. Icon UID, description utils, get icon UID for keyword confuse. We'll just make this null by default, so I don't have an icon for that. Okay, so now I can specify an icon for each of these debuffs. And now back to my ability label. Debuff, where is this used? Debuff texture. Icon rect.texture. Can I do a nested switch in here? Well, maybe I don't want to do that actually. I'll default it to the debuff texture, but then when I do configure for buff, we'll just do that. So in any case where I have a buff or a debuff that does not have an explicit texture, it will just default to this debuff texture there. Where is that? Ability label. It's a little bit messy, but so this debuff texture will be the fallback. But if the debuff has a configured buff icon, then it will just go ahead and load that instead. So hopefully that works. I'm good, thank you. I think I'm coming down with something, but also still alive, so it could be worse. How did the item balancing go? Yeah, it went well. I think a lot of people are getting sick too, so I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I think the items are working really good now. I love the idea of limiting the natural number of abilities that items can have. I think that that's going to make the game really, really interesting, and it's going to solve a lot of my problems. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. I have to play test it some more, but yeah, I think it's going to work good. What's cracking, gamers? Hello, Junie. Welcome, welcome. Shirley, thank you for the $10. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, Shirley. For everyone who doesn't know the Firebelly lore, Shirley is my wife. She likes to fund my McDonald's habit, I suppose. But thank you. Thank you, thank you. The Chad, I 7-zip my project when I remember sometimes versus the Chud. I have 3 NAS servers at different locations that back up the repo every 2 hours. Well, in this case, I'm a proud Chud. Proud Chud right there. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. No, but if I, like, for real, if you have the budget and a large part of your life is revolved around just like digital assets and digital data, a NAS is like one of the best investments you can make, period. Like I have, not only do I have no regrets about that purchase, but that purchase is like such a quality of life improvement, such a peace of mind improvement that it's like, I don't know why I didn't have one earlier. So definitely recommend it. Anyone watching, I'm not paid by Synology or anyone else, but definitely consider getting a NAS if you have a lot of digital assets that you just want to lock down and make sure you retain ownership of. 80 terabyte NAS here, definitely recommend. I have an 8 terabyte NAS, and we'll see how long that storage lasts. I just have a very introductory NAS. It's just like a Synology 2-bay one, and I have it configured to like the RAID configuration that mirrors. I think it's RAID 1 if I'm not mistaken. So I've got two 8-terabyte drives in it, but the total storage is 8 terabytes because the drives are mirrored, right? They're exact copies of each other. So, but I can definitely see a future where I upgrade to something that's got like 16 bays and I've got 500,000 petabytes of data. No, probably not, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. How many acquired movies do you have on that NAS? I have none, actually. I don't dabble in that at all. For convenience reasons, I just think that maintaining a library of your own movies is kind of a hassle. So I pay the convenience fee. We pay the convenience fee for like Netflix and whatnot. Or, you know, you could pay the convenience fee for a VPN and then have on-demand media is all I will say. Definitely need to invest in a NAS, just overwhelmed with the options. Yeah, I think the options are hard. And like Synology is kind of frustrating because they don't make it easy. They have like their naming convention is just like whatever random letters and numbers they decided to pull out of their rear ends for that day. It's just like, I think there are other NAS brands that are like a little bit more streamlined in terms of like, well, here's the intro model and here's the mid model and here's like the high end model. And then Synology has like 40,000 different models and it's like, oh, the only difference between this one and this one is it has an extra 2 megabytes of RAM. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I just have the 2-bay one, the 2-bay NAS from Synology, and it's not a very powerful machine, but it gets the job done. I'm not doing anything like impressive on it. Like I don't have any Docker instances running on it or anything. I have a Raspberry Pi with 8 gigs of RAM for that purpose. But yeah, it's good. If you're just looking to like store and back up your data, just one of the simpler options is perfect. 10 times 8 terabytes ZFS2, very nice. Problem is storage is so damn expensive. Is that true of like actual hard drives? Are actual hard drives increasing in price too? Got this before everything got crazy. Yeah, Synology makes the model numbers complicated for no reason. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I got my NAS like what, 2 or 3 years ago at this point, and it's like, yeah, like I said, best investment I ever made. The peace of mind alone is like worth it. Like just knowing that there's almost nothing that could happen where I would lose any of my critical data, especially when you combine it with like, you know, I have nightly backups to Backblaze, which is just like a cloud storage provider. Plus the natural redundancy that comes with GitHub's own redundancy operations. It's like, we're basically in a situation now where it's like impossible for me to lose my data. And if I do lose my data, that means something catastrophic has happened and we're all screwed anyway, right? Even the magnetic drives are up now. Wow. Because they have cache RAM too. Oh, that makes sense, yeah. Has anyone installed Linux on their Synology? Is it still locked down? Synology are Linux, right? Yeah, I have SSH set up into my Synology. I haven't really had any problems. I mean, they're locked down for security reasons because, you know, you don't want people accessing it that shouldn't be accessing it, but it's relatively easy to get an SSH connection set up to it. Like I SSH into my Synology all the time because I need to, my GitHub backup script requires a token that is automatically expired after like 30 days. So I'll need to go in there like once a month and like update the key for that script. But I just do that over SSH from WSL in Linux. I have one, but I have not time to mess with it properly yet. Yeah. I mean, you can do all the stuff that you would expect to do. Like you can spin up Docker instances and stuff. And I think you can set up like cron jobs and stuff. Although I think the preferred way to do it with Synology is to do it through their task scheduler, because there's additional little bells and whistles with the task scheduler. Like you can be notified via email when a task fails or when it succeeds. So it's kind of like a juiced up cron tab, which is pretty cool. But anyway, we should probably do some actual work on the game. So let's see if I can do this. I had a DS10 1019 plus, but I have since moved to a custom built for you running true NAS scale. Yeah, I'd like to do that at some point too. I've got a couple of old desktops laying around, which I could probably do, but... Seems like that would be a good cheap option. Like you could just go on like Facebook Marketplace or something and find like an old PC, or not like an ancient one, but an older one. Throw some old storage drives on it and set up your own NAS. Okay, so now it's got that exhausted icon right there instead of the bullet point, which is great. Make a little build machine out of her, yeah. Looks like magnetic drives are up, but are easily more affordable than SSDs. Might be time to before more geopolitical events occur. Yeah, I mean the prices will come down at some point for any reason. I mean, my opinion, like, you know, like GPU prices are going up and everything. And my opinion is like, yeah, the supply is squeezed right now because of this massive AI investment, right? But someone like Nvidia is not going to leave their multiple billion-dollar consumer market behind because it's still billions of dollars, right? So I think the pressures are there to ramp up the supply so that they can start like producing the consumer items again for reasonable prices. But obviously that stuff takes time. So I think the prices will come down one way or another. Either the AI thing, the AI bubble will pop, or we'll figure out a vastly more efficient way of doing like LLM inference, or the supply will eventually catch up. But that could be a few years out still. So who knows? Insanely sad that AI has made RAM and SSDs darn near 4x the price, yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. When did I get my new PC? I bought my PC, my newest PC, back in August. Was it August of... I don't know how old my PC is. It was either last August or the August before that. I don't remember. I don't remember. Anyway, so that's done. Okay. Let's figure out something else to do here. So I still have a bunch of problems with the map navigation. That needs to be handled, but... Good morning, Neozoid. Intel is also looking into making a new type of RAM for AI as well. Yeah. Yeah, I think the prices will come down one way or another. That's my opinion anyway, I could be wrong. Alright, so I've got like 40 minutes here until I need to hop off the stream, so maybe we'll do... What do you guys want to see? We could do an artifact, we could do a new card, we can do some new reagents. Could do a new enchantment. When this card becomes exhausted, exhaust one random enemy card. That one sounds interesting. Wait, did I already do that one? I think I did that one actually. Maybe I already have that one. I do. So that one's actually done. I need to think about how to increase the ability for players to get residue as well. Maybe we should work on that. Maybe instead of doing new content, I still think that board size increases are a little bit too hard to come by. That's still putting pressure against using large cards. But now that I have that new ability system, I wonder if there's an opportunity to go back to awarding residue based on, like, not necessarily card size, but so right now when you do alchemy, you get 2 residue per consumed card. But I'm wondering now if it makes sense to do, instead of residue based on consumed card, what if you got residue based on the number of abilities the card has? So I could have a 1x2 card, which has 4 abilities on it because I've upgraded it a bunch, but I no longer need that card. So I sell it, or I use it in alchemy, and I get 4 residue out. Of course, the large cards are still going to be a little bit more appealing to get residue from as well because of the number of abilities they have, but I don't know. There should be some opportunities here. I'm also thinking about I'm almost thinking about doing some kind of radical change to how the residue works too. Like, I was thinking about changing the residue to dust, and I guess I haven't really thought through this much, but instead of awarding residue from the alchemy, you could get residue from, well, maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know. I think there's something there that I still need to work on. I think there's a path here too where maybe I just... So the new ability system changes a lot about how the game works. And so, like, a lot of the things that I came up with as solutions to problems are probably no longer applicable. Like, the whole reason why residue was introduced in the first place was to give the player an explicit reason to engage with the alchemy system. And then the residue is just used to unlock the board, the spaces on the board. But I almost wonder if just, like, removing the residue now and just making blood the single currency for everything, I almost wonder if that's the proper approach now. So we just get rid of residue entirely. Alchemy costs blood. Board size, board space unlocks cost blood. Shop costs blood. All that good stuff. Or maybe we get rid of the blood entirely and we just make residue the currency. But the idea is just have one currency for everything. Like, I don't know if there's actually a need for residue anymore. Any thoughts on any of that? Let's do a boss card. Oh, I don't know if I have it in me to do a boss card right now. Do you mind giving your 2 cents about best way to implement inventory with drag and drop in equipments? I'm struggling with choosing Godot drag and drop API, GUI get hovered control, mouse entered signals. Do you have any opinion there, or which way is better? Yeah, so the broad approach that I would do is, I think you can make the Godot drag and drop work, but in my experience, it's been easier just to build your own drag and drop system because you have much more control over it, like which data gets passed around and everything. As far as, like, the actual technical implementation, I think the main thing to do is to separate your data from your visuals. So what is visually rendered in your inventory should be entirely based upon the pure data representation of that inventory. So I would have, like, an inventory class or whatever that stores resources or custom resources or some other kind of data structure about, like, here's everything that exists in each of the slots. And your inventory can just be like an array, right? If your inventory has 20 spaces, you can just have like a 20 element array, and then you could store, like, when, you know, like you have some kind of data structure, whether it's a custom resource or something, and you just put it in those slots, right? And then the pure data class that holds that inventory data will have all of the APIs about like swapping slots, right? So you could say like swap this index and this index, and that performs the data swap under the hood. You could have like place this item at this inventory position. You have an API for that. You can have an API for increasing the amount of inventory space, adding slots to the inventory space. And then for your visual representation, that should be purely responsive to data changes in that data class. So when you swap items in the inventory, for example, that would emit a signal, something like, hey, the inventory state has updated. And then your UI, your visual presentation of that would update itself to be in accordance with whatever the underlying data is saying. And then the same thing is true of like, you know, like when you're interacting with the UI, yeah, you can use control nodes for detecting like when you're hovering over an item in the inventory. But what you should be doing is you'll use the user input as a way of calling the APIs on the underlying data, right? So if the user input is such that I want to move this item from this cell to this cell, what you would do is you would call an API on your data representation to say, move this item at this index to this index. So you don't want like your UI representation to contain basically any of the logic about what's happening in the inventory. You just want your UI to be a way for the player to see what the state of their inventory is and provide inputs to change the state of the inventory. But all of the state changes should fundamentally run through that pure data representation of your inventory. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that gives you a place to start. But that's the way that I've done it in Alchemortis. That's the way that I would do it if I was developing a more sophisticated inventory system. So yeah. Could do residue based on a card tier. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the blood currency again. It was in a pretty good spot last playtest. Yeah, that's true. I would say no cell unlocks, have them be shop or event upgrades. Yeah, I guess I have to think about that some more. No cell unlocks, have them be shop or event upgrades. I just think like, so I'm running into this problem where like residue only has one purpose, which is to unlock cells on your board. And because it only has one purpose, and that purpose, by the way, yeah, that was to force the player to engage with alchemy. But now that cards are naturally limited in the amount of abilities that they can have, and they have like a clear indicator, like there's an empty ability slot here, I think that's going to push players into alchemy more. And plus the alchemy has gotten a lot more predictable as well. So it's less punishing, like the randomness is less punishing. So I don't even know if the residue is really serving the purpose that it was originally designed to serve anymore. So that's why I kind of like the idea of just going back to a single currency. But again, I have to think about how like the board cell unlocks work in that case, if I want to keep those or get rid of those. So the problem with getting rid of those board cell unlocks is yeah, I guess like the problem, well, I don't know. There's a couple of tricky things there. I don't really know what to do about it. Right now, that is what I have, array with item slot and item data, but the specific way to pick up and drop. GPT says GUI get hovered control is bad practice and I should use signals instead. Yeah, I think you should use mouse enter, mouse exit signals. Love your channel and content. Have all of your courses and can't wait for a new game to come out. Thank you. Appreciate that, Derek High. I think it still serves the original purpose. If I don't have to use alchemy to win, I'm going to try doing it as I did before. The card abilities are generally powerful enough on their own. Yeah. That almost makes me think, what maybe I should just like reduce the number of abilities on a lot of cards. Like, I'm trying to think outside the box. Like, I'm trying to think, like, I'm not afraid of doing like more radical changes. Like, if the cards are powerful enough on their own, then maybe the answer is just to reduce the number of abilities that are on cards by default. So like, instead of a 2x2 card having like 3 or 4 abilities, I just cut it down to like it only has 2 abilities, right? So the way to get the full power unlocked of those cards is to alchemize them, right? I don't know. This is something I have to think about. There's a lot of it's like playing whack-a-mole. I change one system and then that's like it kind of like calls into question all these other systems. The enemy boards are usually underwhelming. Well, I've fixed that to a certain extent. I made the enemy board generation a lot smarter. So hopefully that's no longer the case, but yeah, I guess just have to play test it, I guess. Let me look at some of the Discord suggestions really quick. I know you put a lot of suggestions into the Discord there. Let's see. Oh, a shapeshifter. That's a cool idea. The shapeshifter card idea. Ooh, magnifying glass. Items that are only one cell can hold an additional ability without a negative effect. When this happens, increase that item's cooldown by 3. That is a cool idea. Let me write that down. That's a good one. Magnifying glass. Add extra ability slot to 1x1 items. Turn cooldown by 3. Something like that. That's a cool idea. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck right now because I have all these remaining problems with the game that I want to fix, but I don't have any ideas for how to fix them. And we're running out of time because I spent too much time yapping, so I actually have to go soon. But let's see. All right, let me actually do this. Let me just do some planning here. So all right. I'm kind of stuck. I have analysis paralysis right now. Okay, so we're going to streamline the currency. Determine if residue is still necessary. Game. I think the core problem I'm having is that residue doesn't have multiple uses. That's the problem. It feels just kind of like a pointless, not pointless currency, because it does have one valuable use, but it just feels kind of like its potential is not fully realized. So I would say that this is a major problem that I'm having with the game. The other major problem I'm having with the game is that the map navigation has major problems. So one problem is that it is unclear where that the player needs to find strongholds. Is unclear that where to find the strongholds. Regions are not differentiated enough from each other. Another problem with the map navigation is defeating a stronghold requires navigating to another region, which requires a lot of travel time. Enemy strength grows indefinitely without any end state. So this is another set of major problems that I need to fix. Another approach could be that have a power limit, like you have 10 power, whatever, and each card size adds to that power. So a 1x1 is 1 power, 3x3 is 9, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think the board is kind of already the power limit, right? So like the board size is already kind of like your power limit, and increasing the board size is what grants you additional power. So I don't know if like having another system on top of that, yeah, the board size is the power limit. It's basically the way that it works. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of problems to think about. I was thinking about the map navigation a lot. I think the flag should start at the stronghold and use the camera to indicate the direction they are in. Then when you defeat the stronghold, that full region's map is revealed. That's a cool idea. I'm just, yeah, the main problem I'm having is like, I just don't know if this new map navigation is like working as well as it could be. Like I keep coming back to this idea, like maybe it would be better just to do like a Slay the Spire style thing where you can really only move in like one direction. But I don't like that. Like I do want to make like the free roam work if I can. This would be in conjunction with no board size, but you were right in that the board size also does that. I don't know. I have a lot of things to figure out. I'm kind of like hesitant to work on like other, I mean, I do need new content for the game, of course, but these major problems are bugging me and they need to be resolved like as soon as possible. Could also add in fast travel nodes that allow faster movement as you find them. Yeah, I was thinking that might work too. Yeah, that might work. Maybe with a high enough notoriety, an event happens where the stronghold is revealed. So as far as like the enemy strength, I was almost wondering if it'd be more appropriate to like divide the enemy strength into like 4 distinct phases. So right now it's just like every time you hit 100 enemy strength, the enemy strength goes up. But there's a number of problems with that system. Like, I think it's easy to get lost in the map and not be able to find a stronghold, and then the enemy power just kind of like gets away from you. Like, I guess the problem is that players are being punished for not finding the strongholds, but the strongholds are hard to find. So that's a problem that can be fixed. But another problem is that when you defeat a stronghold in a region, you still need to walk quite a ways to get to the next region's stronghold. And during that time, the enemy can increase in strength, right? So, I mean, the whole point of like the enemy strength system is to put like, I'm going to use the word time pressure, even though it's not timed, right? But it's like time pressure, right? Like you have to be careful about which nodes you're visiting because you can't just visit everything. Otherwise, the enemies are going to scale in power too much. But right now, I feel like the player doesn't have a whole lot of control over that, especially in the situation where they need to run across the entire map to get to the other stronghold. Because that feels just like a penalty, because it's like, well, I want to go find the next stronghold, but I have to just eat all of these enemy strength penalties along the way. But the problem is I do want to make the free roam work. Make the player have to think carefully about which paths they take through the map. But I just don't know if the free roam is going to work. Could make points of interest, but just allowing the player to walk freely and activate nodes by walking into them. Oh, I see. So the player can move freely from the map and just choose which nodes to activate instead of being forced to activate a node for every movement. Is that what you're saying? Fast travel nodes would be very helpful. The enemy strength I don't really think is a problem. I think the enemy should just overwhelm the player if they take too long. The player needs to have a sense of urgency, and if the player is strong enough, you aren't driving him to the end if the enemy caps. Right. I guess the real problem is like maybe I'm not instilling that sense of urgency enough. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, like if I had 4 distinct phases, right? And I made a big deal about like when a phase has advanced and that changed some things on the map, or it like added some kind of annoyance to the player or something. I think maybe part of the problem is I don't think the game is doing a very good job of instilling that sense of urgency in the player. Like, it's just this, like, bar that just keeps increasing, and then, oh, it upgraded the enemy strength. Could have it be that the player starts at the center of the map, and each cardinal direction is the direction of a different region. They start off in a neutral location, then choose a direction. That way, if they choose a direction, they'll hit a stronghold eventually. Yeah. Free roam, but allowing them to control more granularly what things they want to activate. Yeah, that could work too. Yeah, I guess I just have a lot to figure out here. I have a lot to figure out. Anyway, I do have a meeting that I need to get to soon, so I'm gonna try to spend this afternoon figuring out what to do about these problems, and we'll see. Hopefully by tomorrow's stream I'll have something interesting to work on. It's just like, yeah, I need to really focus in and get these things done because I want to release the game this year, and these are still some major problems with the game. So I need to get that under control, and then I just want to get into the phase where the game is like really solid from a gameplay standpoint, and then I can just focus on building out the content and stuff. But it's hard. This is hard. New artifacts or consumable items could really help with this kind of stuff too. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, I'm gonna have to end the stream there. I may stream later today, we'll see. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna spend the afternoon thinking about this stuff. And yeah, anyway. You can support the game by wishlisting Alchemortis on Steam. I would appreciate that. Maybe Residue can activate teleportation to other nodes far away. Yeah, that is interesting, actually. Oh, maybe. So you just get like a teleport that you can use whenever you want, but it costs Residue to do so. I think I would still need to have some kind of other source of residue as well, but that could work maybe. But anyway, yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for support. Thanks for helping me think through this stuff. And I hope you all have a great day. Watch the Discord. I notify everyone there when I go live. So anyway, otherwise I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. And bye-bye for now.